So I don't know about you guys, but every time I cut onions, I am just soaking in tears. I've got literally just tears and then sometimes snot running down my face. I have the worst reaction to onions. And apparently it has to do with sulfuric acid that's in the onion that gets released in the air, and you start to inhale it, and then it just becomes a waterfall. So I thought I'd try out a few tricks today. We could try them out together, and we can see if they actually work. So one that I'm going to try out is cutting the onion in a bowl of water. That's apparently supposed to work pretty darn well. So we'll see how that does. I'm just going to dunk this onion in here, peel it, cut it. It's going to be kind of tricky, I think, to peel it and cut it underwater. So we'll see how that works. I'm curious. Another thing I've heard is coring the onion. Apparently a lot of the acid comes out of the core of this onion. So I'm going to try coring the onion, removing that core, getting it out of sight, and then peeling and cutting the onion. See if that helps. We'll see. Then third, I've heard that lighting a candle is supposed to help, which I don't know. I could see maybe the smoke or the somehow taking some of that oxygen out of the air will evaporate some of that acid. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm just grasping at this point. And then fourth, just lost my toothpick. Apparently I've heard a tale of clenching a toothpick in between your teeth while you're cutting the onion. That's allegedly supposed to help you not cry, so we'll see. There's a few others I've heard as well. One is freezing the onion or refrigerating it, which I can see making sense because it probably makes the acid less likely to explode into the air. So that's one option. I don't know. There's a few out there if you search the internet, but for me, I figured it's time to find a solution. And I'd love to know, you guys, tell me in the comments here if you have this problem or if you have discovered any special tricks that have worked for you guys, because man, I love cooking with onions and I do not like prepping onions. It is not fun. So I figured let's start with the water effect. So first, I'm going to, I guess the key is really not to cut that core because you don't want to release any of that acid. So I'm going to make my life a little easier. I'm going to get rid of some of that papery skin. Get it down pretty well. And then I'm going to try to do it underwater. Let's see what happens. I'll use a paring knife, I think, because I think it's going to be a little easier. So I'm just going to try to, I don't know, I think this is an easy way to cut yourself. You're going to have a very sharp knife. In general, it's important, but especially when cutting onions, because you have less chance of releasing that acid into the air. All right, here we go. We're peeling it. I can smell the onion. Not crying yet. Ooh, these are some strong ones. Have you ever noticed how some onions are way stronger than others? I think it's those fresher ones really release a lot of juice. All right, so far not crying. It's a good sign. All right, so now I've got my onion underwater. The peels are underwater. Now the problem here is that if you want to dice an onion, this is really not the way to do it. So I'm curious, I guess you could get really clever and put a little platform in the bottom and use it as a base, but here we go. I'm going to cut this onion the way I would normally. I'm going to cut it in half. See if I can get through that root under this water. It's interesting. I wonder if the water is absorbing all of that acid. All right, cutting through this side, cutting through this side. We've got it open now. So far, there are no tears. This is a good sign, hey? All right, so now I'm gonna slice the onion because I think that's the easiest thing to do. Now I might take out some of these peels to make my life easier. I'm just gonna remove them so we don't have a bowl of peels mixed with sliced onion. So I'll remove those, leave that onion in there, and now I'm gonna start just slicing my onion. I do wonder if this would remove some of the flavor from your onion, make it a little waterlogged, but I bet it wouldn't be too bad. Once you get that sizzling in a pan, it would release a lot more of those juices. This is amazing, actually. actually. This is the first time I think I've ever cut an onion without crying, so far it's working. This is a good one. All right, so we know that this one has a good effect. I think what you can do is, once you get that core, pretty close to that core, you can discard the core. And then you've got your sliced onion, and then you move on to the next one. So that's pretty neat. No tears, and just sliced onion. I wonder how you would dice it though. I think that would be a little more precarious, so let's try some of our other techniques to see if that gives us any luck. So next I'm going to try to core an onion. Apparently the core is the source of all of this sulfuric acid. So I'm going to take this core out and see if that helps. So I'm going to take a sharp paring knife, just take the tip, and I'm going to put it on an angle and just twist it out all the way around. Pop it out. I think there's probably a little more core in there I should get out for the sake of my eyes. So I'm going to pop that out. Pop that core out. All right. My eyes are starting to sting a little bit, I'll be honest. So we'll see. I'm going to peel this off. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a little bit more off. Trying not to cut it in half to release any of that acid yet. I think keeping it whole before you cut it in half and just peeling it as best you can first does also help. All right, so we've got the core out, we've got our onion peeled. I'm gonna cut into it now with a larger chef's knife and see what happens. So, cutting this in half, cutting here, cutting here. Now while I'm here, I'll show you how to dice an onion properly. Once you've cut it in half, you make some slices on here, on here. So you're doing horizontal slices, and then you're doing some over the top slices. Horizontal, then vertical. Once again, sharpening this key. And then you just go like this. Because we took out that core, it's not anchoring it as well, so it's much harder to do it this way. You really need that core to anchor the dice in this technique. But I will say, I don't have nearly as many tears as I normally would. I'm feeling some stinging for sure, but not even close to what I normally experience. All right, that was technique number 2. I'm gonna throw this to the side and try the next one. All right, let's get this out of sight so it doesn't influence me. I will say it's starting to build up in the air, so I do think removing the core helped quite a bit, but the under the water effect was a lot better. All right, putting this here. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator so I don't have it in the air affecting me. All right, next technique. Let's try lighting this candle here, see if that helps me at all. I don't know, this could just be an old wives' tale. Just light a normal candle. You can do a scented candle if you're feeling fancy. All right, take my onion, keeping the root in, no water. Here goes. Now the way I normally cut this onion is I cut it off the top, keep the root, and then I'd cut it in half again. And then I would use the root as an anchor, and I would just peel off the outer layer. Layer number 2. Eyes are stinging, getting worse. All right, let's dice our onion the way we normally would. Horizontal. We do have the root this time, which is nice because it allows it to all stay together. And over the top. Eyes are definitely watering. I don't know if you can see, but it's definitely not as easy as the other techniques were. Whew. Okay, dicing my onion here. All right, not the best, but not the worst. I think this gets 3rd place so far. in here and try the next technique. All right, get this out of the way. Blow out my candle. I don't want to have any influence. Whew, my eyes are not feeling great. Washing the hands. Get some of that residue away. All right, my fourth and final onion, the toothpick. Let's see if this does it. In my mouth, ready to go. Typical onion technique plus toothpick. Get off some of that residual. All right, lobbing off that top. You can see my eyes are definitely getting red, huh? Okay, cut the bottom off. Cut it in half. We still got our root. Remove that skin. I've also heard that keeping the onion surface that's exposed down on the cutting board helps, but it's hard to do when you're cutting an onion, especially when you're slicing it or dicing it. So I don't think that's a legitimate technique. Okay, so I can tell you right now, the waterfall is starting. I'm definitely tearing up. So I would say our toothpick so far is the least effective for me. The waterfall is starting, everyone. So, as you can see by the fact that I'm crying with a toothpick in my mouth, toothpick, not so good. Might be an old wives' tale. Candle, maybe. Definitely tempered it a bit. The water effect, probably the best, and the coring, the second best. So those are my grades. A goes to keeping it underwater. B goes to coring out the onion with a paring knife, taking the core out to get rid of that sulfuric acid. Woo, it's getting worse. C goes to lighting a candle, and D goes to this toothpick. Now, excuse me while I go get a tissue because the waterfall has started. I'd love to know if you have any tips. Leave them in the comments here. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more modern pioneering tips and tricks and life hacks, and I'll see you next time.